let me start the show by posing this question, and we'll take any feedback from you guys. Love the interaction. 877-99 on Fox. I mean, I feel like everyone's talked this Staley conversation in circles, but I got to ask you, do you think by not firing him after the 27-0 blown lead to the Jags last year, I know everyone says the sentiment, should have fired him then. I get it. But I'm asking the question, do you look at it as you wasted a year of prime Justin Herbert?
I mean, you can look at it that way.
You ended up firing him anyway. You know what it's like? It's like dating someone and knowing they're not the one. Every month you stay with them, you're not meeting the one.
Yeah, but
and
know
you're
what
wasting
happens?
time and money.
I've been in that situation. You're just hoping it gets better. So if you're the GM, what's his name, Tom Telesco or whatever, if you're the GM, maybe
he got fired too.
you're hoping that things will change. If you're the owner, you're hoping things will change. If you're the person in that relationship, you're hoping things get better, and then they don't. And then in retrospect, you could look back and say, man, I wasted all that time.
I guess it's all retrospect. You're right, because even after that blown 27-0 lead to the Jags last year in the playoffs, everyone immediately was like, how does this guy still have a job?
Because you got to give people a chance. You got to let them figure it out.
They lost the first 2 games of the year in very close affairs, and everyone said the same thing, like this guy just not getting the job done. And listen, these quarterbacks are only young for a little pocket of time. And Justin
not just
Herbert,
quarterbacks. Everybody.
Yeah, but Justin Herbert particularly. Yeah. I feel like this is a guy who I feel like we've wasted him so far. It really is.
We're not seeing him progress the same way a Joe Burrow has in that time span. I mean, he had that potential. Still does, but I don't think we hold him in the same regard. I don't think he's where he should be, for sure.
I try not to make every analogy about relationships, but as I always say here on Fox Sports Radio, relationships in sports, so many parallels and so many synonymous ideas and thoughts. I had a girl once tell me, and I don't disagree with her. We dated for like 3 or 4 years in her early 20s, and she was like, "You stole my 20s." And after we broke up, I'm like, you know what? I was never going to marry her, so I sort of did.
I mean, she also sort of gave you them.
But I'm saying, like, we're stealing.
It takes 2 to tango or something like that.
I'm just saying, Herbert signed. You're right.
Don't live with this guilt. You know what I mean? Like
Herbert signed the big contract. He knew what he was in. But isn't there a part of you that thinks we're stealing? The Chargers essentially under that regime was stealing prime years of Justin Herbert's young career.
It seems that way, like I said, in retrospect, especially after what happened last night. Look, I have my own theories. I really do. I don't even know if I should share them, but I do have my theories.
What are your theories? You have secret theories?
I do. I've done my own investigative theories.
You put on a John Stossel fake mustache and go at it?
Well, look, the Raiders clobbered the Chargers last night, Week 15, Thursday Night Foosball. If you blinked and you walked away, or you made a bathroom run, you came back, you're like, what in the hell? How did that happen?
Danny, you must have been fired up last night, man.
They covered the over by themselves in the first half.
What did I tell you yesterday? I said, I'm not touching this game. I was like, if I had to, I would do, but I'm not.
Didn't you say something about you didn't see them scoring over 20 points?
No, I asked everyone in the room. And listen, no one jumped out opposing me. I said, do you think either of these teams hit 20 points?
I did tell you how important that game was for Antonio Pierce, and you kind of shrugged me off a little bit.
You did. So you had one team playing to save their coach's job, another team playing like they didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, like they quit.
There was one play in particular, and I know it was hard to watch. If you aren't a Raiders fan and you don't like pile-on football where it says, no, yeah. There was one point in this game where the Raiders defense got to Easton's stick. He fumbled. Raiders picked up the ball, and they were close to midfield, and the offense that had just given up the ball gave such a minimal effort to track down your lumbering lineman.
Jenkins.
Dude, that was the moment, I think, where it was official. Staley lost his team. Their effort level was awful. It was over already. I think at that point.
No, he ran almost 15 miles per hour, though, Rich. That's fast for a big ugly.
But the simple fact that I think at that point that made it 56, I believe.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, they're not even chasing him. You know when you're playing like street football and you're like, I can't catch him, so I'll just do the half-ass jog?
Yeah.
They were half-ass jogging down an NFL football field.
Weak-ass efforts, but the Raiders, again, 63 points after scoring 0 points. Like,
Well,
how do you even explain that?
well-
So 63 points, 63-21 over the Chargers. Staley gets fired. But they asked him, too, last night, do you think you're going to have your job tomorrow? I was like, I don't know. I think we found out right away. That just goes to show you how bad of a performance that was last night. Like,
he said
stunk it up
games
so
like this
bad.
happen.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Not really if you look in the history books of the NFL.
Yeah, not like that.
You know what
No.
I don't need to look up? I could. You know when you don't need to look something up because you could pretty much guarantee it without even looking it up? I could promise you in the NFL history books, there's never been a team that has scored 0 points one week and then 63 the following week.
I would be shocked.
There's no way there's a point differential week to week more drastic than that. Because think about it. The Dolphins just almost broke a record with 70.
Or you could say,
There's
hey, man,
no way.
do the Vikings have the greatest defense ever
On earth?
to hold down the Raiders last week, and then they come out and score 63 points yesterday? That's how matchups work, and that's why styles make fights.
I hate it. I hate that Covino has something there because Covino will always say, well, boxing, it's all about matchups. This fighter could whoop this guy's ass, but then that guy could lose to the guy that whooped him. Like, how do you explain what happened last week, 3-0 to the Vikings? And then they come out.
The Vikings have the best defense in the NFL. That's what that tells
in
me.
the history of football.
because the Raiders' offense is explosive.
Rich, did I not tell you on that Monday there were lots of jokes about that 3-0 game, and I told you this is the best, and the stats prove this. This is one of the Raiders' best defenses in years and years. Not only that, the Vikings also have a good defense. That truly was a game where you could tell they were both trying really hard, but neither team could get into the red zone. And when they did, they fumbled or had penalties called on them. And it was frustrating, really frustrating to watch. And that's why yesterday I pointed out that Aiden O'Connell needed to show out big time last night if he wanted to have a future with the team going forward. And I joked with Rob G, the Odd Couples producer. He's also a Raiders fan. When we were trading seats here and he came in for the Odd Couple, I joked with him. I said, so what do you think? O'Connell has 4 touchdowns tonight off that 0-point performance. And he laughed, and we were laughing. It was a joke, though.
Yeah.
Nowhere in my mind did I think that was actually going to happen.
Well, they showed up. My takeaway is this. It's the true definition of styles make fights. You saw what the Raiders were capable of against the Chargers, and it was also the tale of two coaches. And one coach, I feel like, has the team on his side. One coach clearly does not, and it reflects in their performance.
Yeah.
Danny G, you're not the only guy that thought, hey, depending on how they play tonight, depends on Antonio Pierce's career moving forward.
And Staley. And
Staley, and you saw what happened.
I have thoughts. There's so many layers here, like we said. Wasting the good years of Herbert.
Yeah, that sucks.
That's an interesting one.
That sucks.
I know you have a thought, but imagine, I thought of this layer. Imagine you're a Raiders fan, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to spend my hard-earned money. I'm going to pick a game to go to sometime in December.
Yeah.
And you chose the Vikings-Raiders game, and then 4 days later, your team puts up 63. Imagine having to go to Vegas, sit through your team losing 3-0, and if you just would have picked a game 4 days later, you would have seen an almost record-breaking performance.
Not just that, but on the secondary market, you could have got into Allegiant Stadium last night for $105. That's the lowest price that has ever happened there at the new stadium for a Raiders game.
I saw UFC
Pretty cool.
superstar Alexander Volkanovski there cheering his team on. Danny G sent me that video there. So people did show up to see clobbering. Again, 63 points. Were you rooting for 70, Danny G, just for the round number and feel of it, right?
I wanted 70, and I wanted to point out something really quick that nobody else has been talking about. I didn't see it on TV this morning. I didn't hear it on any radio stations.
Exclusive!
Yeah. Think in your mind, think back to last night's game. Okay, at Allegiant Stadium, speaking of that new state-of-the-art stadium, usually the opposing team's fans are all over the place because everybody wants to schedule a fun trip, family trip, or a guy's weekend to Vegas to see their favorite team.
For sure, yeah.
They knew this was going to be a problem because of what city. It's a destination. So that's been an ongoing thing where the Raiders are like, man, can we get more of our fans in here? Last night, you barely saw any Chargers colors. It was all silver and black.
Well, with all due respect, Danny, I don't think they have fans here.
Well,
I mean,
that's why I wanted to back up to what was her name, Marianne Doe.
Marianne Doe, yeah.
Doe.
Has someone checked on her, by the way?
That was a joke. That was a meme going around this morning.
Someone check on Marianne Doe.
But again, that proved our point. Back then, we were saying we don't know any Chargers fans besides her, and that's such an easy trip to make from LA to Vegas. You would think that Charger fans would be there, and that's if there are Charger fans listening right now, they were protesting against Brandon Staley.
So the coach lost the team lost the fans, Herbert lost the year.
Coach lost the job. Our pets' heads are falling off.
So, yeah, not a great week for the Chargers or their fans. And it was just, as John Travolta says, Rich, if you're a Chargers fan watching that game last night, Les Miserables.
Yeah, he did say that.
63-21.
You know, Covino asked me another question while we were having a little slice of pizza before the show. He said, dude, in your career, even before a career, when you had part-time jobs, have you ever had a job you were so bad that it was obvious you need to leave? You need to be fired. Like, have
Did
you ever
do something so bad the next day you're on the spot?
And you're like, I know I'm getting fired.
You got fired for that because he essentially got fired because that performance last night was so embarrassing. I'm not saying it's the only reason. This was a buildup, but this really magnified everything. Like, this is not. We need to go in a different direction. I believe that was the quote.
Like,
too.
if you're a radio,
that, we gotta move forward.
Danny G, you're a radio producer. That would be like if you were the new guy on the job and you spilt liquids all over like a brand new.
Oh yeah, hot cocoa into the brand new.
All over the brand new console. You're probably getting fired.
Yeah, you're not going to be at that station the next day. You know, there were so many records set last night. It's mind-boggling, as you said, to go from 0 to 63. It's like a sports car from 0 to 63.
Yeah, I almost wish they wouldn't have said 3. You could have been like from 0 to 60.
Yeah, in 2 seconds, really. 8 different Raiders scored touchdowns. They scored 9 touchdowns.
That's insane.
Trey Tucker, he had 2 touchdowns. So 8 different Raiders had touchdowns. Mind-blowing.
Wow.
I have never, I can't tell you the last time I watched my favorite team and I was comfortable during the game and laughing and not stressed out. Usually I'm pacing.
You were in chill mode. 42-0 at halftime, right?
I didn't know what to do. I'm like, is this what it's like to have a dominant team? Because I didn't know the feeling.
Imagine, and I'm sure Big Sexy Ryan that works here isn't the only guy. He said that, you know, he was partying a little bit, got a little sleepy, passed out, and the Raiders are his squad. He goes, he woke up and looked at the TV and it said 42-0. He thought he was bugging. He's like, no, there's no way. So imagine, like you walked away for a little bit, came back.
Yeah.
You're like, what the hell?
Your boy Jason Fitz, he texted me in the third quarter and he said, "Is this a dream?"
So funny. Yeah, it didn't feel real. Didn't feel real. Like even if you just forgot to put the game on it. Oh yeah. Or you were doing something else and put it on. It was just very shocking to see what went down yesterday and to hear what went down today with Brandon Staley.